with you, talking about where houses can and should be built. Packmore is one area where the council has decided, we'd allow developers to develop sites there. The decision would deliver what the City Council says are much-needed homes for Stoke-on-Trent. You're about to hear a conversation I recorded before the programme this morning with the Cabinet member for Regeneration. And in it, we talk about people who are on housing waiting lists. Is that you? Are you one of the thousands of people in Stoke-on-Trent who are on a housing list? You just want somewhere to live and you can't get one. 0800 121 80 80. Some of the people in Packmore aren't happy, as you might imagine. They love their community, they love their area. That's why they chose to live there, because they love it. And these houses would change it substantially, according to Darren Bamford, for example, from Packmore Liaison Community Group, which was set up to oppose the development. This is what he told me about the City Council's plans to build new houses on council-owned land.
If you look at that local plan, it's attacking green belt and green fields. It's a major attack on it. My words to Stoke-on-Trent, the people, is you've got to wake up, because this next stage of the local plan, which is now Section 19 that's coming out, that will be going out to public consultation, I don't think we're being represented by this Labour administration as a city. They are not doing what's right for the city.
Councillor Finlay Gordon McCusker is the Cabinet Member for Growth, Regeneration and Transport at Stoke-on-Trent City Council, and he told me earlier why they're saying OK to build in Packmore.
We've got to look at this in the round. We know we've got 3,500 people on the housing waiting list, and we know that there are many, many more who are desperate to get on the housing ladder or find somewhere affordable. And the council has to do everything it can to make sure we build the homes that people need in the future. This site is one of the largest sites that the council owns, and one of the most deliverable and developable. So it would be remiss of us to ignore it and exclude it. On the basis of the consultation and what we heard, clearly the majority of local people are opposed to any development of the site. But our responsibility is to look at the bigger picture across the city and really, really ensure that what we're doing meets the needs of the people of the city.
Can you explain to the people of Packmore why it would be that you've got roughly 3,000 people on the waiting list in Stoke-on-Trent and 3,000 empty homes in Stoke-on-Trent? Why not bring those empty homes back into use and then you don't have to build anywhere?
Well, I'm pleased you've mentioned empty homes, because this is something that we take really seriously as Labour at Stoke-on-Trent City Council. A few years ago, as you're probably aware, the then Conservative administration cut the budget for the empty homes team and reduced the number of people working in it. Under Labour, this year we were able to invest back in that service, and we're working at breakneck speed really to get as many of those homes back into use. Some of it, you're always going to have this challenge about when people unfortunately pass away, homes are in probate and stuff like that, and so we make sure that people get the assistance they need. But of course, there's a lot of long-term empty homes, and as a result of our investment, we'll be able to bring far more of those back into use, because it's absolutely right. When there's empty homes in the city, we ought to be doing everything we can to get people, families, living in them again.
Residents of Packmore have pointed out they don't feel they've been listened to throughout this consultation process. In fact, some have questioned why there was a consultation process at all, because they feel the decision was predetermined from the start. What evidence is there that the consultation made any difference to the council's plans?
Well, I've been through this a number of times, and I have been to Packmore on several occasions and listened to people directly in the room and had those conversations. So if you look at what was originally proposed, we were looking at development of anywhere up to about 1,200 homes. One of the things that people told us really, really clearly is how much they value that green space that makes Packmore such an attractive place to live. And the option that I recommended to Cabinet yesterday and that Cabinet voted for, option number 4, that is the option with lease development, about 816 or so homes, 200 of which will be for affordable rent, as well as an extra care facility for older people. Those were all things that came through in the consultation, the lack of provision, extra care provision for older people so that they can stay local, the protections around green space. Obviously, people in Packmore are very, very proud to have such a wonderful green space. That's why the proposal that we voted for yesterday, if taken through, would only develop 30% of that land. 70% of that land would remain green and open. And actually, a point that I've made on a number of occasions when I've spoken to people in Packmore that I'm not sure everyone is aware of, is that the majority of the land at Packmore right now is rented out to tenanted out, and so it isn't actually open space. There's paths that people can walk through, but the majority of the space isn't open, isn't the kind of space that you can go and walk your dogs on or take your kids to. We want to create more of that space in Packmore, and this will enable us to do so.
I spoke earlier, and we've heard from Darren Bamford from the Packmore Liaison Community Group, who I'm sure you've spoken to as well. He's told us that he and other residents feel failed by those who are supposed to represent them. He says the failure will be answered at the ballot box. Are you worried what these planning decisions might cost in that sense?
I'm not, to be honest with you, Stuart, and the reason for that is simple. We've had to take a really pragmatic approach. We know that there's a problem, a crisis actually of housing in the city. Too many people are forced to live.
Sorry to interrupt, but isn't the crisis that there's 3,000 empty homes, which are a blight on the streets they tend to be on, and yet you're building on green land in order to try and offset that? Isn't that the crisis?
Well, of course, there's a crisis with empty homes, and that's why we reversed the Conservative and Reform decision to hollow out that team and actually put money back into that team to get empty homes back into use. We approved that investment. Labour made a different political decision to the Conservatives and Reform. They didn't vote for it as well either. Labour are doing things differently, but there is, regardless of how you term the crisis, there are far too many people right now who don't have a home to call their own. Clearly, a lot of these, the vast majority of empty homes aren't owned by the council. It's completely down to the owner of that home, what they decide to do with it. Some of them are very short-term empty homes, and so there's always a churn. Some of them are long-term. But as I was saying, I don't particularly fear the repercussions at the ballot box. I was elected. We have a mandate to build the houses that people need. I'm not going to sit on my hands and do nothing while people can't afford to get a house of their own or aren't able to stay in the city or in their communities. We can't just ignore that.
Are you satisfied that the City Council has done enough to develop as much brownfield land across the city, and there's plenty of it, before looking at greenfield or greenbelt land?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you why. As Cabinet Member for Regeneration, Brownfield First isn't just words that are easy to say. It's the truth that I live every day. We've got a list of brownfield sites longer than my arm right across the city that we're doing everything we can to bring back into use. You'll see places like the site on Scotia Road, which is a brownfield site that will hopefully provide more than 300 homes for local people. Pine Nest Street in Shelton, which has been empty since before I was born, Stuart. We're finally in a position now, working with Homes England and others, in a position to bring forward a real deliverable scheme to get that site back into use and providing the homes that local people need. Wellfield Road in Bentley, the former school site, we're building houses on there. And it isn't just houses, Stuart, it's council houses, because there's a crisis with the lack of council houses. And the same is true on Booth Street in Stoke Town, where again, it's a brownfield site. We're using the right to buy receipts to build more council houses.
Does your brownfield first policy mean that all those sites and any other brownfield sites will be developed before Packmore?
We can't promise that, and it would be
well, you can, because you're the local planning authority. You can deny planning permission until you've done all the others if you want to.
There'd be no basis to deny planning permission. I know I'm the cabinet member, but I'm separate from the local planning authority. The planning committee themselves make their own decisions, but they have to be in line with planning law. And so any decision on that basis would just be overturned because there's no basis for it in law. What I'm saying is that as a council, we've made different decisions in terms of looking at brownfield land. We're working with partners, like I say, Homes England and others, including heritage bodies, because we believe in heritage-led development as well, to make sure that we can build homes on brownfield sites. I've named a few, there's so many more. And actually, I'd invite you or anyone else to come and look at some of these sites that we're going to be developing, many of which work has already started on, and see what we're doing in terms of brownfield, because we know it's such an issue. People have said it for years and years and years, but finally, there is a council under our leadership which is getting on with the job rather than just talking about it.
Councillor Finlay Gordon McCusker, Cabinet Member for Growth, Regeneration and Transport at